Well, good morning. Let's start with that news on HS2. It's 2 years overdue, but the government's finally revealed the preferred route for the northern section of the new high-speed rail link.
Yes, as expected, it will divide north of Birmingham with lines going to Manchester and to Leeds, but ministers still have to decide where a station should go in Sheffield after rejecting plans for a new out-of-town hub at the Meadowhall shopping centre. Our transport correspondent Richard Westcott has more.
It would be one of the biggest and most expensive projects Britain's ever taken on. But the huge price tag makes it one of the most controversial too. Phase 1 goes from London to Birmingham. And today, 2 years after first promised, the government's published its favoured route for the second phase of the project. To the west, it goes up to stations at Manchester Airport and Manchester City Centre. To the east, it stops at a station between Derby and Nottingham before heading on to Sheffield, where they still haven't decided where to put the station, then Leeds City Centre.
Order!
Ministers make grand claims for HS2, saying it'll generate billions of pounds for the economy, create hundreds of thousands of jobs, ease congestion on packed trains and help bridge the north-south economic divide. But critics say it's overpriced and will wreck homes and beautiful countryside. A recent report by the Parliament's spending watchdog, the National Audit Office, said cost pressures meant the line might not be finished on time. The section they've announced today isn't due to open for another 17 years. Richard Westcott, BBC News.
Our transport correspondent Richard Westcott is in one of the areas that could be affected, and new houses could be directly affected. Morning, Richard.
Yes, they could. Good morning. Welcome to the Shimmer Estate. You can see Help to Buy and Part Exchange available. It's not finished yet. Very nice estate, but it may have to go for HS2. This whole place could be flattened. We've only been here about half an hour. You can see the strength of feeling. People just turning up, coming out of doors. Sandra, let's talk to you first of all. You don't live on this estate, but you live in Mexborough. Yeah, I live in Mexborough. Sorry, Karen, isn't it? Yeah. Tell us how it's going to impact your family business.
We live just across the bridge on the farm that we've been on for 40 odd years. When my dad bought that place for Chodgy over a grass field, everything has been built up from scratch with his bare hands, a lot of memories, a lot of graft, not work, graft that's gone into this. 4 family homes that's going to be lost. My brother's business that's on the bottom road that's going to be lost. We're not just talking buying a new house and moving. It's 40 odd years.
And you've still got uncertainties, haven't you? How does that feel, not even getting an answer today?
We've never spoke to him, we've never had no correspondence from him. I would like to say to David Higgins, come to Mexborough, fetch your crew, don't sit in your office with your suit and tie on, making all your rules and regulations. Come and see what devastation it's going to cause to people.
OK, Russell, you do live on this estate. You're not sure what's happening to your house. You've had mixed messages this morning.
Absolutely. I've been told by some that we were going to be safeguarded today. Some think we might have been safeguarded today, but then others I've been speaking to have said we're not safeguarded at all. That uncertainty, obviously, is horrible for those having to go through it. I mean, this estate particularly, I know obviously people say it's a relatively new estate. It's been here 3 or 4 years, but it's a really strong community and people get on really well. It's the kind of community where they are proper neighbours. It is a proper community that's been built, and so for that to be destroyed is devastating. But the uncertainty of pretty much knowing it's going to be destroyed but not being able to do anything in the meantime, waiting until it happens, waiting for a decision as to when you can actually put something in place to move or whatever is horrible as well.
Sandra, you're not from here, you're from Bramley, which is just 5 miles or so down the road, and you've come up with your sign specifically, so it affects you, it affects your son.
Yeah, it affects my son, it affects lots of people in Bramley. There's over 70 houses that are going to be within the safeguarding area, as well as some local businesses. It's just going to devastate our village.
So you're nearby, but you don't get the compensation, basically?
My son will be so close to it, but he will get nothing, and their houses are devalued already. Nobody wants to buy them. They'll never be able to sell them, and they're going to be stuck with a high-speed train at the bottom of the gardens.
Jonathan, you're Yorkshire against HS2.
That's right, yes, Richard. It's devastating. This is a nightmare before Christmas for everyone in Yorkshire. This route is going to be disastrous. It's the worst possible route, and HS2 Limited actually rejected this route 5 years ago because it was so unfit for purpose. I'm furious because I was supposed to be meeting and presenting with Chris Grayling in 2 days' time in London this report that we've spent 3 months, the communities, researching the evidence for why this route is so unsuitable and should be struck out and it's unfit for purpose. And it's very disappointing that Chris Grayling has rushed to judgment. I think it's the beginning of the end for HS2 because this route will not carry forward. The consultation will be massive against it and much more than for the previous Meadowhall route.
Yeah. OK, thank you all for your contribution, for coming along today as well. You can see the strength of feeling against, of course, the government and lots of businesses as well argue that it creates jobs. It's going to help bridge the north-south divide because basically most of the jobs they say are going to be created outside London. They say it's essential to make Britain open for business after Brexit. Lots of rows to go on. There's going to be a consultation now. A huge bill then has to go through Parliament. It's all years away, and the section of the route they've announced today doesn't open for another 17 years. So there is a long way to go on all of this.
Oh, there is indeed, Richard. I'm sure you'll guide us through. Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody there too. Thank you.